And now, it's time for that great new game show.
It's the PowerShell Podcast. It's all about PowerShell and the PowerShell community.
The PowerShell Podcast.
And now, here's your hosts, Jordan Hammond and Andrew Plaw.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the PowerShell Podcast. I'm host Jordan Hammond with Ultra Mega Superstar Andrew Plaw.
Dang, I like the intro.
He continued to carry this thing with his excellence while I am here.
And contributing equally, yes. We got this. Jordan?
So this episode's dropping the first day of Summit.
It is. Wow. We're probably really busy right now.
Yeah, we're really busy. If you send us a message, we're going to be slow getting to you. With that being said, if you are listening on Monday when it drops, every night we do a recap blog of things we experienced in classes we attended. If that interests you, you want to see that. As well as we're going to be shooting, if we can, if people are available, hopefully some live episodes where we actually are face-to-face with the person instead of over the internet.
Wow. That energy will be electric. Can't wait to see those.
Unlike now where I'm very deadpan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be good. Keep track. We'll be on Twitter at PowerShell Pod, at DevOps Jordan, at Ehmiiz.tech, posting some things. Maybe we'll have some photos thrown in there, maybe some play-by-play analysis. And then, like Jordan said, at the end of the day, we do a recap of what happened. We'll keep you in the loop. Now,
in other news, those that listened this Monday we got a special treat, and that's chipmunk mode of our podcast. Things were going very fast.
Yeah, if you are a fast audio listener, meaning like you listened right as soon as we dropped it, you were lucky to hear us in rare form. We were chipmunks. Alvin and the Chipmunks talk PowerShell.
Yeah, we got that corrected pretty quickly, but replicating back the correction took some time. It took over a day for Google.
I'm happy about it, to be honest. I'm all in for the occasional Easter egg of life where it's like, oh, whoops, well, here's a happy little accident. Because you were in the meeting with me. We were in a meeting and, my mic wasn't muted and I was just like listening to someone else talk. And then I clicked play on this because someone posted in Discord and told me that it was sped up. And I heard it and I heard us sounding like Alvin and the Chipmunks and I just died laughing in the middle of a meeting, disrupted everything, felt bad. But
yeah, I think it's common for people to listen on 2X. I know that discussion came up a lot in forums based on the chipmunk. But I think even this was beyond. I think this took it to a new level.
Yeah, it did. And it was a weird type of speed up where it like really pitched us up. I mean, I thought I had some bass in my voice. I mean, I know I'm not that deep a voice, but come on.
All right. Now, who wrote stuff this week?
Oh, who wrote stuff? Well, first of all, I'd love to give a great shout out to our friend, David Richmond, who has posted a new blog. He started a PowerShell blog. He has an awesome blog post about MS Graph and paging, where he goes through it, and definitely recommend checking that out and look forward to more blog posts from him. Now, we also have, Jordan, another fantastic blog post by another friend of the podcast. Emil Larson has a cool new module and blog post accompanying it about analyzing your Linux system using PowerShell. That's pretty cool. Check out the Linux info module, install module Linux info, and check it out if you're on Linux and want to get some stuff.
All right, now for some facts. No one cares about us, Andrew. They're here for the guest. And today we've got a true rock star. Someone who I believe won the scholarship or one of the scholarship winners for the on-ramp at Summit this year. And Master Chef, if I may be so bold.
For sure.
All right, Drew McClellan. There you are.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We're fortunate. We normally get people after they've already moved mountains and accomplished amazing things. And you have as well, but we are very fortunate to get you before you're famous. Before the whole world already knows about how amazing you are, because we know how awesome you are. But super awesome to have you here, Drew. I know we've been friends for a while, but really happy to have you on the podcast.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I'm super excited to be on it. It's a little surreal. Always enjoyed the podcast, all things PowerShell. So again, thanks.
I'm looking forward to in the future. I'm going to point this out. It's like it's going to be my hipster moment. It's like we knew Drew before he was a superstar.
I don't know about that, but
Well, you seem to know that, to grow in life, you got to do things a little bit, and you seem to be pretty good at doing that next thing. So kudos to you. It's not always easy, but it's awesome to see you doing your thing.
thanks. It's fun learning. That's the best part about IT, I think. Just always something new, something different. Monday is definitely different than Friday.
You're right about that. And Jordan mentioned you're a master chef. So where does that come
definitely
from?
don't have that title. So that
Okay, I guess that's actually a thing, right?
I definitely don't have that title. So just to be
You gave me a breakdown of my spam Wellington, and first of all, you were very kind, but also it was clear you knew your cooking. Where
Well, I love me
spam
some
aside,
spam. So,
spam aside, that was a good dish.
It was. You got good techniques, Jordan.
Jordan loves it when we talk about food on the podcast.
It's always my favorite.
Mm.
But
Well,
so
you
you
guys
had
cooked
a
anything
history
recently?
in Korean
No.
barbecue. I went out, got all you can eat.
We did a fake cooking show called Terabytes. There's a
Oh,
video
yeah.
out there where we made appetizers for the Super Bowl. I think I made mini sliders. Wasn't bad.
Okay, I haven't seen that one yet. Let's check it out.
But so you had a history in food before transitioning into IT.
Yeah, so I used to work in food service for over a decade. I mean, that's what I went to school for, but and then COVID happened, so I made a bit of a transition. Still a little surreal. I still feel like I have nightmares of nothing wrong with working in food service, but it's just now being in IT. It's hard to imagine being anywhere else. So if only I was here sooner.
It does feel like a different level of stress. Like as a chef, like it's high stress while you're there, but then you could probably leave it behind when you leave. But with IT, that can follow you home.
Oh, big time. Yeah, that was really nice. I think most jobs probably don't have that as leaving at the door. Whereas, unless you were like the exec or the owner of the company where it maybe came home with you a little more often. Yeah, IT tends to follow you sometimes. After hour stuff, that'll always be a thing, but that's okay in my book. I like thinking about it.
They're big problems. They take big brains. Just complimenting everyone in IT there. So you got into PowerShell kind of, you mentioned in 2020 when things changed, or got into IT rather. How did getting into IT lead you to PowerShell? Like where in IT did you get started?
So where I first started in IT, just kind of doing support, and then also kind of doing a little bit of drafting and design for electrical and technology drawings. So a little bit more on the IT heavy side. Again, during COVID, so there was a lot of support for people at home while they were working from home, and I was kind of watching and making sure all the hardware was in its place, as well as dealing with just general work from home issues that hadn't been a thing with the company that I'm with currently. And then as far as getting into PowerShell, I really wanted a way to access information when people had issues like what version is that their operating system on, how can I see what their network card is, stuff like that. So that's when I was kind of introduced to PowerShell and SIM and accessing registry keys. And then from there, it kind of sealed the deal on how awesome PowerShell was. And then I ultimately found this podcast, and I just kind of been running with it ever since. I feel like I might be the guy that just doesn't shut up about PowerShell at work and at home.
It's cool.
You're about to be in a group of 400 or 250 some odd people that agree with you that you should never shut up about PowerShell.
Well, I just hope I won't be the squeaky wheel that's like, enough already, guy with the questions.
Now you're at the right place.
Cool. I'm looking forward to it.
But so I'm just interested because you're newer to it, and I'm always curious about the experience for people getting into PowerShell. It's obviously pretty popular, especially in the Windows world. So it sounds like you were trying to look up stuff, and some answers kind of told you, hey, PowerShell's a good way to do that. And you started using it that way. It's good to know. I got a question though. Along the way, what were some of the hangups or things that you ran into that were maybe frustrating or challenging and maybe held you up for a little bit?
Well, I feel like not asking for help sooner would probably be the biggest one, just because I feel like that's echoed quite often. The community is so great, and I'll just echo it as always that whether it's Discord or in a forum of any sort, everyone's always so willing to help. So instead of bashing your head on it for 2 hours, give it a shot. Have done your homework, but just ask a little bit sooner. I feel like that's always my biggest pitfall. I don't want to, I feel like I might burden somebody else, but just ask. More than happy to help.
That's some great advice. That's the type of thing where, hearing that advice, oh yes, it sounds true to our ears, but actually being able to implement it and live it out is what you kind of have to do to grow and do things like that. So it's awesome to hear you doing your thing.
All right. So you dove into IT, you found PowerShell. You did eventually reach out to the community, which is awesome. It's always the first step. But now you're going to the on-ramp at Summit, which is you basically go spend a week with Jeff Hicks learning awesome things. That seems like a pretty great time to me. Is that something you're excited for? Or?
Yeah, it's still like I remember exactly where I was when I saw the email. So it's still settling in, honestly, but I'm super excited. Get a Vulcan mind meld going on with getting some knowledge. So I'll do my best absorbing. I'm sure it'll be pretty overwhelming, but yeah, I couldn't be more excited.
I'll be curious too, if you're open for talking to you after, to see if your expectation going in has been met or exceeded. I won't even throw it out there that it will be below what you're hoping, because it's going to be awesome.
I bet. Yeah, I'm kind of already thinking like, man, I can't wait for the privilege to be in the on-ramp program and as a scholarship recipient, but also go back next year in full to get the full experience too, or I should say the other side.
It's fair. I have a question. What are your expectations from your career? Like, what are you kind of hoping to get out of it? Just a job, maybe some enjoyment along the way, or?
No. Well, I just IT's kind of funny. It's I never really thought of myself as like a learner. It just seems to like maybe unlocked something in me. IT, food service, you kind of left at the door. You could do stuff at home, but for me, I find that IT, I do a lot of stuff at home, after hours. Little in between the lulls while working, just to kind of bring something to our attention so we could do a little bit better maybe. So I think it's something that I could see myself in as a permanent career for sure. Honestly, I don't think I could go back. I still love cooking at home, and I think I cook more at home more than I ever did when I was working at food service. But yeah, it's kind of funny. I started as IT support, and I'm now a system administrator, and I just, I keep learning, and networking is very interesting to me, and I'm still kind of learning that from a very basic level. But, cybersecurity, I went to FutureCon. That's super exciting. Maybe I'll end up in cybersecurity when I'm older. Maybe I'll be a system administrator forever. Who knows? There's a lot of opportunities to sidestep, and maybe not sidestep, but just always go up. Just something new to check out. The transition from help desk to sysadmin was such a big deal. At least for me, it was. It's a really awesome achievement. So congrats, man. Thank you. It's been a fun journey. So I hope I get to keep doing it.
It's, in my opinion, a bit easier to learn as a sysadmin too. A lot of times you're given more projects, and you can kind of dig your heels in, and there's not quite so many tickets, maybe, if you're lucky.
Less time on the phone, which is a big one. That one can be a big draw.
Gotcha. Yeah. Definitely frees you up a little bit.
Well, I like how you said you already have like a whole bunch of things. I'm interested in all these. We'll see where it goes. So you're not locking into a certain path. You're just trying all the IT stuff. Find out what you like best. I like that.
It just keeps changing every time. So like I said, when I first started, it just I was like, well, I don't think, I really like doing what I do. But what about system administrator? I was like, well, that sounds fun and interesting. So I'm sure it'll change.
Yeah, as they do. And, I've found that for me, it's very helpful to, when I'm passionate and interested about something, explore it, learn about it, take advantage of those inherent desire to learn. And maybe you don't have to learn it fully, but especially earlier in the career and as things keep changing, painting that large picture of like, hey, here's what IT at large can be. Oh, it incorporates security, and it incorporates interactions and automation and so on and so forth. And learning new things is the best way to pave that pathway.
For sure. Well, speaking of IT and stuff, like how did you guys kind of get into it as a career? Did you guys have any other, did you also work somewhere else prior that wasn't related to IT, or has this always been your guys' track?
So every step along my career, there is a similar story, and it is my brother made me. So I was working in a warehouse for a vending machine company, and I didn't have a lot of motivation. People think I'm joking when I say I'm lazy. I'm a very lazy person. And then my brother said, well, I'm going to college, so you have to. And so he got me in to talk to some enrollment person. I ended up going to college for computer networking, which is something I've actually never used in my career. And then after that, I believe I graduated college in 2008, right with the economy collapse. So I did not work in IT right out of college. But my first job came because I bombed my interview, and my brother said, ignore that, hire him. And everyone likes my brother, and that got me the job. And then he told me to learn PowerShell because it'll help you stand out. And so I listened to him again. But my entire IT career has been, I listen to what my older brother tells me, and it has always paid off.
Cool. Yeah. For me, I played video games as a kid, but I was never super into, programming or anything like that as a kid. But eventually my wife was pregnant, and I was like, what career should I get? Business? Just do some business stuff? I was like, oh, no, that could be a little bit boring for me. Oh, IT is a way that you can get started, like you said, in help desk and work your way up. If you prove you're competent as you learn new skills, and there's a way to verify that you've learned skills either by showing it publicly or getting certifications and things like that. And I was like, okay, this meets my immediate need, and who knows how cool it could be in the future. And so I did it, and I got started in IT as help desk. Actually, I got an internship, and I was able to work really hard there and leverage that into a full-time position. And then I left shortly after and got a sysadmin role, and have been kind of growing up since then. But yeah, I really enjoy IT because like you mentioned, there's so many different directions you can go. The stuff I'm doing right now isn't really directly related to different parts of IT, but you can transfer a lot of those skills, and just having a general good approach to communication, to troubleshooting, to that type of stuff can get you a long way. So yeah, I love IT.
Nice.
I like where Andrew's at, just because he still gets to be 1 foot in on the IT side of things, but he gets to focus on helping people grow, which is clearly his passion. If you ever talk to him, that's his go-to. So I feel like he's into something that really hits his wheelhouse. That's outside perspective anyway.
Thanks.
Gotcha.
I really do. It's there's nothing, as soon as I realized, like, because I've gone through the whole, really enjoying the technical side of things, and I still do. I still geek out on things all the time. But to me, it's so much more impactful to empower someone else to do those exact same things, and to maybe make it easier for them in the future kind of thing. I really like that. But that's a fun kind of transition. And I think that, Drew, you've kind of gone through that transition yourself, from being someone who is just learning everything to taking the next step. And hey, I've learned some things now. Let me teach you some of those things. And I know that you've started a blog. How has that been? When did you think that, like, hey, I'm learning all this stuff, let me write about it on the internet? What made you think that was a good idea?
I just thought it'd be kind of fun. Like, I never had a website of my own before. So started with Wix. I'm kind of building one up through HTML just for fun as well. That will be my own webpage to get off of Wix eventually. But I just thought it'd be fun to share, and also to like most I think say that it's your little personal knowledge base at times to go back and reference. And I think if you feel like just because it may have been posted, or you think maybe somebody already had that issue, just do it anyway. Just do it for yourself. I feel like the best way to retain the knowledge is just to regurgitate it again, whether it's out loud or in OneNote or on a blog post.
Completely correct. These things are just true.
Well, can I ask you guys, like, what was some of your guys' entry, not from IT, but as far as PowerShell, like, where did you guys first get started in that? It's always interesting to hear, like, the cornerstone. Forgive me if you guys have already touched on it.
Oh, no, I was talking about that. Mine was Exchange. I was starting to backfill our Exchange admin, and just PowerShell was needed more and more. And honestly, for the first couple of years, me doing PowerShell, the company I was at didn't understand the full value. So mostly what I was doing was querying AD to pull certain reports for him. And it didn't go much past that. But it gave me a good baseline on how to write the basics. And then at the next job, I was able to really just start doing all kinds of stuff with PowerShell.
Yeah. So for me, I was working as a sysadmin, and I'd ran into it a handful of times and just Googling something like, oh, hey, run this command to do this. Okay, that's simple. Then one time I had to do something with AD, and there was select object and calculated properties, and I was so lost. I was like, what is going on? What do these commands do? And aliases too, by the way. So, I was way out there. And I was like, I need to learn this. And so I started dabbling a little bit. And at the time, PDQ, which is who puts on this podcast and where Jordan and I work, had some content on PowerShell, and Jordan was doing it. There was blogs, there was webcasts and stuff like that. And to me, it was really tickling my fancy of like, yo, this is some cool technical stuff. And there are other people who are into it also. I mean, I think Jordan had a silly little, I shouldn't say silly, but it's kind of silly little blog post about using the Discord API to like play a hipster playlist, just like, I was like
Spotify,
wow.
yeah.
Spotify, yeah. It was like, wow, this is cool. Like PowerShell can kind of do a lot of things. I started trolling my coworkers who are in IT by playing music files on their computer. And okay, cool. Then one day, and this is where my path kind of is similar to yours in some ways, despite us sharing a first name. I think,
yeah.
is I ran across a Don Jones tweet. And he's like, hello, everybody, something, something. If you want to apply for the scholarship to PowerShell Summit 2018, let us know a little bit about you, fill this thing out. And I saw it and I was like, yo, I got to do this. I have to. I told my wife, I was like, okay, get a babysitter. I need a second opinion on what I'm going to write. I can't mess this up. So I did all that. And was just like he was fortunate enough to receive a scholarship. And for me, and at most companies, I think it can be hard to get funding to go across the country. From Florida to Seattle is quite the flight. So for me, it was a really life-changing conference. And I've been embracing trying to grow and take advantage of the opportunity and the fact that I'm now in PowerShell and, leveraging the skills that I've learned at work in the best way, trying to take the lessons of like you've mentioned earlier about understanding that teaching people is the best way to learn, like really taking those to heart and trying to proceed through my PowerShell career in that way. And here we are today talking to you. It's really trippy for me, at least, because I'm like, dang, dude, I still remember when I got that. I remember how I felt. I remember when I first went there and I was so shy to see Jeff Hicks and everyone, and I could barely muster words. I felt like such an outsider, like everyone else was just maybe more capable than me. And I just would never get there. When in truth, now that I've kind of lived it, all you have to do is just keep taking that next step. And it's taken me a long time to get some of the skills I've had and to get to kind of where I am, but one small step at a time is how I did it. And I have to support and I have to commend anytime I see anyone doing their version of their next step. And I've seen you do a bunch of those, and it's awesome to see. And just factually, if you do things in the right way, directionally correct, as I sometimes say, you're going to end up in a directionally correct spot. And I'm super excited, like I mentioned earlier in this podcast, to see where you're going to end up, because all things point to positivity from my perspective.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. And I'd also like to kind of echo what you said there, Andrew. Reading about your blog that kind of rounded up your on-ramp experience and when you went, as well as Adam B's blog post about just going to conferences in general. I'd like to pose to Jordan and Andrew, what are some like a few underutilized opportunities that people shouldn't miss out when they're at Summit?
So this is one we've touched on a couple of times, and there is a unofficial hallway track where sometimes between sessions or during sessions, there's just a whole bunch of, I'll be honest, it's your idols standing in a hallway talking PowerShell, and to sit in, and I don't even think I contributed. I just starstruck to be in the hallway track, but it's, to me, the most unforgettable part of Summit is just the chance to where you just have genuine conversations with people who, oh, I've read all your stuff. This is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you took my answer, Jordan. That's kind of my answer. But the hallway track is great. I think also just conducting yourself in a way where you're trying to make conversations. PowerShell Summit is one of those places where it's safe to meet new people and talk to them. It's not like a kind of weird situation where it's kind of rude if you go up to somebody and say hello or introduce yourself. And if you're in that type of environment, embrace it. Some of my favorite takeaways from each summit are new friends, new relationships. Sometimes they help me in PowerShell ways where, hey, I now know the expert of this module, and if I have a little idea, I can reach out to them. All the way down to, hey, I have a friend now that, we understand each other's career and can offer advice to each other and all kinds of different cool stuff.
Nice.
But I'm nervous, dude. Are you a little bit nervous?
Yeah, I'm a lot nervous. So I guess maybe how did you handle yourself, and how would you push yourself, and how have you pushed yourself to get those skills that you were talking about that took a little bit to acquire for those rather green?
So can I give my outsider perspective on Andrew? Because when you were the on-ramp recipient, you mentioned that you were nervous and tried to talk to people, but you gave a lightning demo. You were out at all the events. I stumbled across a bar you're hanging out where you'd made a dozen new friends where you invited me in. I believe there's a picture in your blog on it where I'm clearly drunk. Yeah. So your version of nervous and not taking part is, I'm shocked to hear that, because you were everywhere when you were the on-ramp.
I tried. I really tried to take advantage of the opportunity. I have a hard time personally, like seeing an opportunity and then not taking full advantage, because just, you never know with life. You got to try and live in the moment sometimes. At least that's what I've kind of experienced and found to be true. But I don't regret any of it. Each time I would take a chance, because to me, it was a nervous kind of risk. I was kind of taking a chance. What if they were mean to me? What if they rejected me? Because I don't know crap about PowerShell compared to them. Each time I would take that chance, I was fortunate enough to be in a community where people were awesome to me and welcoming. And, oh, Andrew, you don't know what classes are? No, they explained it to me and tried to make things easier. Like, it wasn't an exclusionary type situation. So I was very fortunate to get positive reinforcement, which makes me want to do it more and more and more. And then I had all these friends and everyone was good because, I don't know, that's just the way that people work. So definitely take those chances, try and say things. If you see me at Summit and you're a little bit nervous, whatever, I'm just like you. If you're listening to my voice right now, reach out. I'm happy to talk to you. I'm happy to introduce you to people. Like Jordan said, I love connecting people. And I know that right now we're talking about this in the context of Summit, but just in general, even if outside of Summit, if someone's listening to this and like, ooh, I need to know somebody, or I'd like to meet somebody or whatever, feel free to hit me up. I love connecting people. One of my favorite things to do. But Drew, so Jordan mentioned that I did that lightning talk. For me, that was like an example of the really small step, right? Can I do a 10-minute demonstration just showing one little command that I worked on? Now, each of those, like writing that command, was a bunch of small challenges for me too, because I like contributed to GitHub and stuff. And for me, that was challenging. But what are you do you have any challenges for yourself this week or anything like along that?
Yeah, I think some of my goals were, well, other than just trying to absorb as much, knowledge as humanly possible while there, is just to, much kind of like the Summit handbook was kind of saying, just like try to shake a couple hands, introduce yourself, just kind of get out there and try to meet some acquaintances and make those friends.
It's a great way to go about it, man. And when you see someone doing that, you're showing to all the other people who are maybe an on-ramp or who are maybe newer and not as comfortable that, oh, hey, I can conduct myself in that way. It is safe. It is okay. So awesome, man.
Very true.
And if the one thing we learned when we talked to Don Jones is, doesn't matter how long someone's been there comes a point where they're going to be looking to hand off the torch to the next group of people. So anyone that shows interest and is engaged, they're going to be more than happy to bring in more and more, because eventually they're going to want to step back and they're going to need Drew to take their place.
How about that? But I see what you're saying.
It's also, a lot of us, if you're passionate about something, you'd like talking about it. If you've spent a lot of effort invested in solving a problem, you'd probably like kind of helping someone else with that. And also kind of for your brain, it feels good to kind of go back sometimes.
For sure.
But yeah, man, Summit should be fun. But I think a lot of what we're saying generally applies to the PowerShell community at large, because they're all chill. They're all super cool, welcoming, friendly, give good feedback. I say all, but all that I experience.
I do wonder if I ever run into like a bad experience, if that's just going to really stick out to me just because it's so outside of the normal.
Well, I mean, dude, the truth is miscommunications happen so often that it's just going to happen with humans. Like one person's going to say something when they mean something else, or cultural differences or mistakes. I know that for me, sometimes I'll type a message to, anybody at work kind of thing, and I'll be super busy and I'll be like, wait, I probably should have added more context to that message and added a couple, like maybe another sentence or two to kind of add some clarity. Because with humans, it can be kind of stressful if you give just like errant messages without context. But, I'm not trying to conduct myself in a bad way. It's just sometimes I'm not fully thinking about the way things are perceived. But sorry, that was what I've been going with lately.
Well, I got to ask. So you guys have been before a couple times. What are some, everybody eats. What are some good places down there to eat?
There is a dim sum place that is always packed that if you can get in there one evening, I would highly recommend it. The first time I was at Summit, I went there 3 times, and every time was amazing. I'll look up. I'll try to find the exact name of it, but I'm upset that last year I didn't go.
Gotcha. Well, sounds like a good one.
I'm looking to go to some place with you, man. You know where the real stuff is. I just go. I'm frankly happy to eat anywhere. Catered food's pretty good too, so we chill.
Nice.
I will say last year, I don't remember the restaurant, but the executive at PDQ, like all the executives there meeting up, and they had us come by and just visit for that meal, and I fell asleep at the table in the restaurant.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I was so exhausted by the end of Summit.
Sure.
I remember that, dude. We walked all across Seattle to go to a dinner, and there were some scheduling issues or whatever, so we went to the wrong place and had to come there later or something like that, I believe, Jordan. And yeah, I didn't know what to do because I hadn't met all these people before, and Jordan had, because he kind of works in the office. I work remote, and I was just like at dinner with a lot of people in a loud restaurant. So I'm like kind of overstimulated a little bit already. And Jordan is like nodding off, and I'm like, Jordan, like, what's going on here? You can't be sleeping at the table. And I'm just like making small talk, like trying to be like, make us look good, dude. Make us look good so you can come next year, please.
That's how you put your best foot forward with the people that sign your paychecks.
No, but man, that's because you give it all to the podcast and you give it all to the conference. There's nothing left, man. This is what passion and energy is. That's why we're the #1 weekly PowerShell podcast. Can we start saying that more often? Please.
It's true.
Can we add some more qualifiers? The #1 weekly PowerShell podcast based in Salt Lake / Florida.
The top 150 technology podcast in Singapore as of last week for 3 days. It's the PowerShell podcast.
Well, speaking of end of con, will you guys be participating, or will you guys have to take off for the little docs? I think instead of the IronScripter, maybe it was they're doing like a docathon. Yeah.
Oh, I'm docking up for that. Yep, I'll be there. Yeah, we're staying.
Yeah. Last time when it was IronScripter, I was trying to get quotes and trash talk going, and everyone was so focused. I couldn't get anyone to get. The only person that actually trash talked was Grody.
Because he's so good, he can handle like working really hard. Like for me, they're like IronScript. I'm like, okay, let me go get the documentation from Microsoft and go ahead and check. Oh wait, do we have the GitHub repository? Wait, can someone send me the invite? Oh, I gave you the wrong email. Oh wait, hold on, let me get logged in. 2-factor authentication. Distracted. Jordan asked me a question. Oh wait, I'm supposed to be doing this, and I'm helping someone while I'm doing it. Like, oh hey, Andrew, he's been here for a couple of years. Help so and so. And I'm just, before these podcasts, before we hit record, I'm running around getting water, refilling, going to the bathroom. I was 20 times worse that during IronScripter this most recent year, I believe.
Gotcha.
So thanks, Jordan, for that extra pressure.
Well, don't worry. You ignored me thoroughly. I didn't get anything out of you. Kevin Marquette, I believe, is he didn't just tell me to go away, and he actually gave me a quote I could use in the write up. But yeah, only Grody embraced the trash talk of the competition, and I believe he won. I think there's a lesson in there for all future attendees.
True. You mentioned how important it is to ask questions. That's pretty true. Jordan, you agree with that?
Absolutely.
I definitely agree with that. So you don't have to accept my challenge, Drew, but I would challenge you that if you're feeling like you got some questions at the presentations or whatever, ask those questions. And I'd like to extend this challenge to anyone listening in any capacity related to PowerShell. If you're checking something out and have a question, ask publicly. Get some other people's answers answered because other people maybe have the same question as you. So get involved and take that because I need that reminder too, man. I need it too. I constantly am reminding myself of all these things that, we say on the podcast regularly. It's like conditioning myself to be better in that way.
Yeah, I think in my step up to try to take more part, at least in the social side of things, is I did click yes to I'm free to be a buddy for the on-ramp. They have that where it's so people on the on-ramp that are new to everything don't have to worry so much about the introductions. There's someone to help ease all that transition and take part in that. And every other year I've been a very firm and clear no because I don't socialize. But that was my big step after I didn't get any talks accepted. I'm like, well, at least I can do this. I'm trying that.
Cool. Maybe you'll be my buddy then. Maybe you'll be somebody else's buddy.
We'll see. I'll be honest. There's probably far more qualified and better people for it than me, but we'll see. We'll see where we end up.
We're all qualified and different.
Be honored to have you as my buddy.
Well, we're already buddies. We're actually, people don't know this, but we're now best friends.
Nice.
And I'll take this virtual. If you are not attending Summit and you want a buddy in the PowerShell community, connect you with people to be someone to ask questions to, or maybe introduce you to certain things, you can hit me up. I'll do it outside of Summit. Just for the people who are listening who aren't attending Summit, I want to make sure we're inclusive of the whole community. And also, it should be noted that PowerShell Talks will be on YouTube. There's a GitHub repository that'll include a bunch of the code from the talks as well. So there's some stuff that's accessible.
Yeah, that usually drops a month or two after Summit. And when those are live, we'll definitely bring it up on that podcast just so people can go because the talks are well worth watching.
Several times, I think, personally. I feel like I always miss something. I go back and get a couple more little tidbits out.
That's a great one because a lot of the content at Summit is higher level, like more advanced, I should say. And a lot of times with that type of content, if it's newer to you or maybe you're not at that advanced level, for me, when I was in those shoes, and I still am in those shoes on many, many topics, I have to watch it a couple times because I have to kind of understand what they're going to say before they say it. Because when they say so many fancy words and concepts at once, my brain can't hold it. I have to get familiar enough with things to have like a working knowledge of it. Rewatch. But there are some that are just so jam-packed with awesomeness that I feel like I just watch them for entertainment. Like I have no actual desire to implement this, but it's so interesting that I just got to watch it.
Well, maybe not even specifically to PowerShell, but it doesn't have to be. But what would be some like learning techniques to help you kind of digest, taking those bites off of whatever, whether it's a module or just anything really relating to IT? How have you grasped and tackled stuff?
Do a project of some sort, solve a problem with it is what I like to do. Have some form of deliverable at the end is very helpful. Like you said earlier, it's kind of like your working knowledge base. Do something that has an output that you can refer to later.
Yeah, I think everyone learns different, but for me, I can read or watch something all I want, and I might retain it for the short term, but I'll lose it pretty quick if I don't turn around and put it into action in some way. So it's after you learn it, even if it's just on a home lab, just to see if you can duplicate what they did, it'll help you retain the information for sure.
Yeah. That's I agree. That's how I have to do it too. Turn around and implement for sure.
Implement, and then hopefully maybe teach to your team, or do like, oh, hey, it's our meeting. Let me get 2 minutes to show this real quick. Hey, here's what I did. If you need to blah, 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 just or even an internal document where you explain it. Like having that final step of teaching it and explaining it for me is what really solidifies it. Now, not all projects offer that opportunity, but I really enjoy the opportunity to teach others and show them what we're working on. And if you're on like a more general purpose help desk sysadmin team, it can be really good for camaraderie and to spread knowledge and to give someone else on your team the opportunity to say like, oh, hey, that's really interesting. Could you show me that more later? And then all of a sudden, maybe you have someone that you're teaching PowerShell to and who's kind of bought into your modules and all kinds of good stuff.
Good tips for sure.
What about you? What's been your go-to method
For implementing? Or just
for
for
learning, making sure that you, yeah.
Like Jordan has said, it's I just feel like if I don't go and do it, I won't retain it as well. Quite honestly, reading while listening to it really helps solidify it, and then also to writing it down, whether it's a blog post or just a little internal KB.
Reading while listening. Shout out to Microsoft Edge for right click, read aloud. That for me, I sometimes struggle with focus, and that helps me focus so much more. Just being able to listen and read, and it highlights the text too. So it's like, okay, my eyes are actually going to follow it this time.
For sure. that definitely helps. Yeah, I feel it. Those big, thick books are a little daunting at times. So the PDF and the reading while reading aloud is for sure a solid technique.
Yep. For me, it's hard to keep that attention unless I'm super passionate about something. Then it's like, okay, I could definitely focus on this for a while. But otherwise, I have to kind of like finagle the focus.
Sure. The day always catches up with you.
It does. And lack of sleep, if you ever get lack of sleep, it's boom, your ability to focus deeply is inhibited.
For sure.
I am concerned I'm not retaining at all the way I believe I am, because Andrew hit me up with the link to an old YouTube video from me where the end result wasn't what I wanted. I says, I'll just look up what I missed later. I don't remember shooting the video. I had no idea what he's talking about. I had to rewatch the entire video because I don't even know what I did in it.
Dude, same. I can't tell if it's been a rough few months or just, but it seems like since 2020, man, things are just different, man. A friend of mine has the saying Swiss cheese brain, and that's what I feel like a lot of times, man. It's like, wait, what? This happened that long ago? What happened? Maybe that's like what being almost 30 is. I need to kind of get used to this, or I don't know.
Gotcha. I feel it too. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was just because now I'm in an office job or office related job, or if it was maybe just the day catching up. But yeah, I feel it too.
But hey, one thing I've learned on this podcast is that all these different humans, they may appear so different on the outside and have different accomplishments, but really there's so much in common. Like that just being a human gets you. And for me, I feel like I'm proof in some form to myself that like, hey, you can be an average person, and if you work hard and take that next step, you can end up in an amazing place. And I think that the PowerShell community is a great way to facilitate that growth. And it's really fortunate because there's a lot of other industries and things like that that maybe wouldn't be as conducive to growth and kind of empowering you to be yourself and stuff. So very fortunate that we have that available to us in this community. I'm excited to see your growth in this community and see how the week impacts you and maybe some new friendships you make. I can't wait to make some new friendships myself. Should be, I think there was about double the people at Summit this year than there was last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, which is 2020 puts a hamper on things, I guess.
Yeah, this is we're well on the path to full recovery, which is pretty awesome. Because I think they used to cap it at we won't take more than 400, but I think I said earlier it's around we're like 250 this time, which is twice before, so it should be interesting.
And we'll definitely make sure to get a thank you at the end of it all. But, thanks to everyone who works on putting forth PowerShell Summit, PowerShell Conference EU, any in-person events, any user groups, it takes a lot of work, and so many people benefit from it, and it creates relationships that lead to other things. It's just such an awesome, positive thing. And a lot of people have put a lot of work into these events. So if you see them, if you run across them, if you see them on social media, wherever, give them a thank you. Tell them you appreciate it. It goes a long way. Jordan and I can speak to it as people who do content and public stuff a lot. It really goes a long way when people give us genuine feedback and praise, or just a, hey, good job, keep doing what you're doing. So it's a free currency. Jordan, you got some heavy hitters today? You've been sharpening the saw?
Oh, some serious questions.
Man,
I don't know. These have been known to stump the savviest of veterans. And what we got here is we got a young up and comer. So I'm not sure if he's ready for the common parameters.
I'll do my best.
Do you think you can handle the common parameters? All right. And this should all be fresh in your mind since your IT career is so sparkly and new. What's one time something went wrong while at the job? How did you handle it? What did you learn from it?
One time there was on somebody's laptop, a BitLocker was armed, and I didn't know it. Long story short, we ended up the computer ended up getting locked up, and we didn't have the key for it. So, unfortunately, we had to wipe it. But other than just the downtime and reformatting to get the image back on and all that, just throwing the backups back on, it wasn't too bad, but it was pretty embarrassing. So, definitely feel like I'm getting pretty apt at BitLocker and all that. So that would probably be my standout so far. I'm sure there'll be many more to come.
What's exciting is there's a whole world of possibilities of mistakes we can make.
Well, if you don't get out there,
Jordan, can I interject a couple questions here?
Absolutely.
Okay. Just to kind of keep the theme of hard questions going on. Drew, what word rhymes with orange?
Oh, man. That's a tough one. Morange isn't really a word. I can't think of one.
Wow.
Actually, there is a Scotch that is Glenmorangie. So whether you say it or not, I think you're on the right path. Alcohol reference.
We got food, we got alcohol with your names.
The One-Stop Podcast.
All right. This next one is going to be a little bit unique where you are just transitioning now to sysadmin. With everything you know now in IT, what's one tip you'd give yourself a couple of years ago?
I think the biggest one would be just thinking down the road when planning just about anything. It doesn't even have to be IT, because I think, just transitioning from food service, breaking that cadence of, getting something out in 5, 10, 30 minutes was pretty tough. And I still struggle with it now, but I think just really looking at the bigger picture.
That is great advice. And you're living it too, because when we talked about the career path you wanted, you had several interests with nothing locked in, which I think was awesome. All right, and the last one. Are you ready for the last of the common parameters?
I hope so.
What are your 3 favorite modules?
I would have to say I use Doug Fink's Import Excel, of course. That one's pretty popular. Reports. So it's always nice to have that. Automated lab. I rely heavily on VMs for testing. So you can avoid more issues if you test out of prod, of course. So I feel like that's a pretty big one for me. And then probably more recently would be Doug's PowerShell AI. ChatGPT is pretty big, and a lot of things that are being implemented with it are pretty awesome. So I would say those 3 right now. What's that?
Are you still using the free version of PowerShell AI, or have you bought the?
No, just the free one for now. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I exceeded my quota.
Did you?
Yep.
Did you get that paid then?
I'm about to.
Yeah.
I need it.
I'm sure it'll be well worth it.
Oh, yeah.
So my favorite about that module, which is fantastic, is Andrew took it next level. where he uses the get dolly image to randomly generate an image, and then he pipes that into Adam Bacon's module, which takes an image and makes it ASCII. So
nice.
he within one line gets an AI generated image and converts it into an ASCII picture, and it is
Pretty slick.
it's fantastic to watch.
The truth
flow.
is, with PowerShell, you could do so many cool things with one line of code that I don't even keep track of all the cool, oh, hey, can you do this? Boom. Like, I kind of forgot that I did that. I also used the AI module to generate a test CSV with whatever values. And then I imported CSV with that, and you can use that for other stuff. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff. But yeah, PowerShell lends itself to so many cool little things that you can use and just quickly create, especially once you get kind of fluent with it. It's a very enjoyable language. But I'm nerding out on it. Can I ask a food question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. If tomatoes are a fruit, is ketchup a smoothie?
I guess as gross as it is to think about it in a way, yeah, because it had seeds. So anything with the seeds is a fruit. So I don't know. The seeds are gone. If the seeds are gone, does it still make it a smoothie? I guess. But I would say yeah.
So, I would say that intelligence is knowing that tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing that it doesn't go into a fruit salad.
That's pretty good. I like it.
One more. Can I get one more for old time's sake?
Me?
If you, me. If you try to fail and
I didn't know you
succeed,
said like that, Jordan.
which have you done? I want both of you to answer it. If you try to fail and succeed, what have you done?
You learned.
But have you failed or succeeded? You're
You
right.
still
I like
learn.
your
So-
answer. All right. I gave you a question. You gave a good answer. So
I didn't even equip for that. He just look at that. That's just rapid fire.
that wisdom.
Nailed it.
That's wisdom.
That's
Drew,
wisdom.
You're talking about it. Drew hit us with it.
All right, so I don't know. I'm excited to see you. We're 5 days away. We can hang out in person. We can
Pretty
get a
close.
drink at the bar. I'm excited about this. This is going to be a great time.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be really good. I'm still pretty nervous, but it will be a great time. Looking forward to all of it.
It'd be weird if you weren't nervous, but you're going in knowing Andrew, and Andrew is the social butterfly of IT.
Oh my gosh. Those are
That's what I hear.
Dude, it's exhausting to me, man. I get exhausted doing person stuff.
This is 100% true. Last year, I gave one evening where I gave Andrew control of my schedule, and I was in bed by 9 p.m. because I was exhausted.
Sounds like my usual nights. Usually pretty cashed out.
Yeah, I mean, because before that, I think the night before, we're up till 2 a.m. ordering Grubhub French fry filled burritos.
Wow. Just tell everybody all of our secrets.
Sounds pretty tasty.
It's not bad. We've already been challenged to repeat the process, and I'm in.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. I'm excited that you get to experience Summit for the first time. I'm excited to meet you in person, and I look forward to talking to you next week, where we can hear your thoughts of the before and after.
Yeah, likewise. Well, it's just been it's been surreal and an honor to be on the podcast as a listener too. So, thank you guys.
Thanks
Absolutely.
for joining us. Jordan, dude,
Yeah.
you're not about to end it, right? We got to show.
I gotta
Spiel, man.
line you up for the show.
You don't
And
have
you know
to.
what?
I can just hit it
You know
real
what?
quick.
Here it is. Andrew, take it away.
Wow, that's so smooth, Jordan. Thank you, listeners, for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, and leave us a comment telling us about your favorite PowerShell module or command. Little diversity there. You can find us on Twitter at PowerShell Pod. I'm on Twitter at Andrew Plotek. Jordan is at DevOps Jordan. And Jordan, what else do I need to tell them? Oh, you can email us PowerShell@pdq.com. And thank you so much. Drew, where can people keep track of you? Where can we find you?
I'm on Twitter as McClellan Drew. I'm on LinkedIn as well as just Drew McClellan, and I do have a Wix, but it's to be determined to move on to another website. So just Twitter and LinkedIn for now.
Wait, you talked about your blog. You're not going to let us share that out to everybody?
Well, you can share it out, but it's just, kind of in between blogs, working on writing HTML for fun. And, the Wix one is there. So it's just under construction, all of it.
You know what? Everyone who does a blog, it's so hard to make progress on a blog. It's so hard to make those decisions to switch. But hey, you got started. That's the biggest part. So if you're listening to this and you haven't gotten started, get started. Take that first step.
Absolutely.
Boom.
Done. Here, how's this for an ungraceful ending? Click.
Thanks for joining the PowerShell Podcast with your hosts, Jordan Hammond and Andrew Plaw.
I dig it.
The PowerShell Podcast is a production of PDQ.com, making device management simple, secure, and pretty damn quick.